So Apple might hate gamers and Apple might absolutely despise game streaming services, but yesterday GeForce Now finally landed on iOS and iPadOS, so we decided we needed to take it for a spin and see how well it performs. So let's find out. So welcome back to the channel, and if you're new here, we cover all things tech and gaming related, so make sure you hit that subscribe button. And let's take a deep dive into NVIDIA GeForce Now for iPad and for iPhone. Now, I have been using GeForce Now for donkey's years now, ever since I had my old NVIDIA Shield tablet, which I absolutely loved. It was like one of the best 8-inch tablets that was around. I've been using it in beta and just following it through the years and just trying it out. And it's always had its ups and downs. And when they finally announced it and it kind of went fully live, it seemed like a really promising service. But then developers started pulling out left, right and centre, and it just started falling apart, which was a bit of a nightmare, but it's still there and it still seems to be going relatively strong. And for any of you who don't know what this is, basically NVIDIA GeForce Now works a little bit different to some of the other streaming services. So you have things like Google Stadia, you have Microsoft's xCloud, but with GeForce Now, the beauty of it is that you get to stream the games that you own. So if you buy a game, for example, on Steam, you can sync your Steam library with this. So for example, on this at the moment, I've got my Steam library on there. There are a few caveats though. Some developers have pulled out, so they won't allow their games to be streamed on the service. And when I say some developers, I mean a lot of developers have pulled out. But it's nice in the fact that if you have games on your Steam library, you don't have to rebuy like a streaming version of it like you would with something like Google Stadia. The other really nice thing about it is it comes with a free version, so you can try it out. Now, that free version has slightly lower graphics, so it doesn't have RTX available. There are queues as well, although the queues tend to be relatively small, so I hadn't experienced any queuing until yesterday when it went live on iPad and iOS, and I expect that's because there's an influx of customers and people trying to use this. And the wait times were 5 minutes max, and it always overstated those wait times. I never actually had to wait that long, which is pretty good. But you do only get to play for an hour at a time. So, you know, if you are playing games that are going to take you in depth, if you're going to be playing any multiplayer games, you don't want to get kicked out of your session, that's something worthwhile bearing in mind. For $4.99 a month, you do get RTX, you get slightly better graphics, and you also get longer play sessions with no queues. So, you know what, if you try this out with the free version, it might be worthwhile jumping across into the paid version, but you know, each to their own, and it's for you guys to decide. So like I said, the beauty of this is, once you've bought your game on Steam, if it is available through GeForce Now, you'll be able to play it. Now, there was a big fuss because, you know, Apple just seemed to have some very archaic views of gaming. They don't seem to trust that, you know, these games are going to be safe for their customers, ooh, whatever that means. But you know, Apple's Apple, and they basically wouldn't allow the Microsoft xCloud app, they won't let the GeForce Now app be there, they won't let the Google Stadia app be there, so you're not allowed it because it breaches Apple's terms and conditions. However, you are allowed a web app version, which seems to be the thing that everybody is now marketing. So Google Stadia is bringing out a web version, GeForce Now has it, it's here right now, and we're going to have a bit of a play with that and see how it performs. And Microsoft xCloud is also bringing it, and Amazon's gaming service eventually is going to be bringing a web app. So first thing is, the great thing about it is it does still work with Bluetooth controllers. So I use the Xbox One controller with that. This worked with the iPhone and with my iPad. Obviously got a little grip here so I can clip my iPhone into it, which is really handy. And there were no issues with that. Latency felt good. The controller worked as I expected it to, even though it was running through the web app version of it, which is pretty good. It's really easy to set up. So first time you do it, you log into your GeForce Now account through Safari, and then it prompts you to share the application as like a little home screen icon, which you can see just there. So that way you don't have to jump into Safari every time to do it, you just literally tap on the app and it loads it up. One thing to note is that mouse and keyboard isn't supported in this, so it is supported in iOS 14, which is a bit of a shame that it doesn't work with GeForce Now. So if you're expecting to use your mouse and keyboard to play your games, unfortunately you are out of luck. Performance is one of those things, it's never going to be perfect. It's not going to be like you're running the game natively on your device. We're quite a way off from that. But performance was adequate for the most part. Now, I tried it in a couple of different ways. So the first one, and the gameplay you're seeing right now, is just over Wi-Fi. And actually, it played relatively well, but what I always find whenever I do any kind of game streaming, whether that's from GeForce Now, or if that's just from Steam home streaming from my own PC, is the Wi-Fi can just get a bit choppy. Now, in this example that I'm showing you, I am literally sat next to my home router, and as you can see, it looks okay. There's quite a loss of quality there, but there's quite a bit of latency and dropped frames and everything, and it makes it just not a great experience. Whenever I do anything over Wi-Fi, even when I'm really close to the router, I tend to have to play, I suppose, slower games. So first-person shooters and stuff like that just don't particularly work well. There's only ever been a few devices that seem to really nail this sort of gameplay over Wi-Fi, and that's my Nvidia Shield TV and the Lenovo Duet tablet, which worked surprisingly well with GeForce Now. I don't know why, but it just did. The iPad and the iPhone both seem to suffer over Wi-Fi for whatever reason. So yeah, Wi-Fi, your mileage may vary, but the great thing is obviously there's a free version of this so you can try it out and see how your home setup works. The next thing, I tried it on Ethernet. So plugged it in and I used a little adapter for my iPad. I used an adapter for my iPhone as well so I can hook it up directly via Ethernet cable. And this worked pretty much perfectly. There is a little bit of a drop in quality as well versus something like the PC version, but you would expect that on that. But one thing that I found was latency was perfect, it was really responsive, things looked good, I didn't really get any dropped frames, just the whole thing was very playable. So I would easily be able to play first-person shooters, probably racing games and stuff like that. Pretty much anything that I would normally play on my games library, I would be able to play on that because it just, yeah, it worked, and it worked remarkably well. So if you have the option to plug it in, then that's great. Obviously, that's not going to be available for most people. Most people aren't going to have wired connections available in every single room that they want to play in. I was using just a very long cable for this to make it work. But you know what, if you do have it available, then this will work really well. So the last thing I wanted to try was 4G, because obviously this is now available for mobile devices, so you're going to have it on your iPhone, you're going to have it on your iPad, so chances are there are going to be people out there who are going to play it when they're away. So if you're away for work and you're in a hotel and you've got 4G, or if you're just at work on your lunch break and stuff, and I expected this to be a washout because I was getting about 12 megabits per second on 4G, and I've done the speed tests that are going to come next as well, so you'll be able to see what I was getting on my Wi-Fi and my 4G. And surprisingly, 4G worked one of the best. It definitely beat out my Wi-Fi, which is really odd, so there must be some issue there with the setup. But 4G was very playable. So using it on a mobile network, on 4G, and obviously now we've got 5G around as well, so that's where this thing is really going to come into its own. It worked pretty perfectly. Obviously there's a loss of quality, as you can see on the screen now, but for the most part, it was very responsive, it looked good enough to play, and it was an enjoyable experience. So yeah, you know what? Out and about, if you've got a good connection, even I suppose not even a good connection now, 4G is last gen. If you've got a 4G connection, hell, this is gonna work, and it could work out and about. So impressions are really good for this. First up, there's a free version of it, and you can try it out. So you can get your free version, you can play it whenever you want for up to an hour, and you can test out your connection, see whether or not it works for you, the hardware you've got, and if this experience is right for you, which is great. If you then find that you're using it a lot, you can upgrade if you want to. Like I said, the gameplay was pretty good. It's not perfect, and I do believe we're quite a way away from being perfect with streaming services, but they're getting closer and closer. Like I said, I've been with GeForce Now since day dot, and it has gotten pretty much to the point where you could play a fair few games. Just fingers crossed we'll get developers back on board with it, and Nvidia can figure out what they're going to do to, make that relationship work, because currently, not great. But this is really good news for the future of game streaming platforms, just because iOS and Apple devices form such a massive amount of the market. And ultimately, if it's not available on Apple devices, then it's going to get hindered. Now, frustratingly, it's still not, I suppose, available easily to Apple customers. Even though it's just a case of going onto Nvidia's website, signing up for it, and then, downloading the web app version of it, a lot of customers just aren't going to jump through those hoops, and it means it's not getting in front of a lot of that Apple market, which is frustrating because Apple is still strangling this segment because they don't believe it should be there for whatever reason, because Apple are Apple. And yeah, I guess, well, time will tell. Fingers crossed something gets ironed out and that ends up actually natively on these platforms and people don't have to jump through hoops, because then it's just going to grow a little bit more. So all in all, a really good experience. I definitely recommend it. If you're a gamer, you've got a decent PC games library, then this is worthwhile checking out. I use it quite a lot, so if I'm upstairs and I just want to play some casual PC games and stuff like that, not Fortnite, although Fortnite technically is now back because you can play it through GeForce Now, but it is great just to be able to play your PC games in other rooms on something like the iPad or on something like the iPhone as well. So definitely worthwhile checking out. Hope this video's helped, and if it has, hit that subscribe button, and we will be back next week with some more videos. So take care, and we'll see you soon. Bye.